Hi everyone, my name is Như, and today we will talk about the chapter 16, motivating employees. So in this learning objective number 1, we'll talk about motivation. So what is motivation? Motivation refers to the process by which a person's efforts are energized, directed, and substantive toward attaining a goal. So this definition has three key elements, that is energy, direction, and persistence. The energy element is a measure of intensity, drive, and vigor. So a motivated person puts forth effort and work hard. However, the quality of the effort must be considered as well as its intensity. High level of effort don't necessarily lead to favorable job performance unless the effort is channeled in a direction that benefits the organization. So effort directed toward and consistent with organizational goals is the kind of effort we want from employees. And finally, motivation includes a persistence dimension. We want employees to persist in putting forth effort to achieve those goals. And in the learning objective number 2, we'll talk about the early theories of motivation. So we begin by looking at four early motivation theories that are Maslow hierarchy of needs, McGregor theories X and Y, Herzberg's true factor theory, and McClelland's three needs theory. So, although more valid explanations of motivation have been developed, these early theories are important because they represent the foundation from which contemporary motivation theories were developed, and because many practicing managers still use them. So we'll go deeper about the Maslow hierarchy of needs theory. So the best known theory of motivation is probably Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs theory. So Maslow was a psychologist who proposes that within every person is a hierarchy of five needs. And first we have physiological needs, that is, a person's needs for food, drink, shelter, sex, and other physical requirements. Second, we have safety needs, that is, a person's needs a security and protection from physical and emotional harm, as well as assuring that physical needs will continue to be met. And third, it will be social needs. A person's needs for affection, belongingness, acceptance, and friendship. Next is external needs. That is about a person needs for internal esteem factors such as self-respect, autonomy, and achievement, and external esteem factors such as status, recognition, and attention. And finally, we have self-actualization needs. A person's needs for growth, achieving one's potential, and self-fulfillment are derived to become what one is capable of becoming. Also, Maslow argued that each level in the needs hierarchy must be substantially satisfied before the next need becomes dominant. An individual moves up the needs hierarchy from one level to the next. So, in addition, Maslow separates the five needs into higher and lower levels. Physiological and safety needs are considered lower order needs. Social self-esteem and self-actualization needs were considered higher order needs, and lower order needs are predominantly satisfied externally, while higher order needs are satisfied internally. Well, to be continued, McGregor is best known for proposing two assumptions about human nature: there is and there is why. Very simply, there is a negative view of people that assumes workers have little ambition, dislike work, and want to avoid responsibility and need to be closely controlled to work effectively. Theory Y is a positive view that assumes employees enjoy work, seek out and accept responsibility, and exercise self-direction. McGregor believed that theory Y assumptions should guide management practice and proposed that participation in decision-making, responsible and challenging jobs, and good group relations would maximize employee motivation. Very husband two factors theory, also called motivation hygiene theory, proposed that intrinsic factors are related to job satisfaction, while extrinsic factors are associated with job dissatisfaction. The intrinsic factors that create job dissatisfaction were called hygiene factors. When these factors are adequate, people won't be dissatisfied, but they won't be satisfied either. To motivate people, Husband suggested that emphasizing motivators, the intrinsic factors having to do with the job itself. David McClelland and his associates proposed the three needs theory, which says three acquired needs are major motive in work. These three needs include the need for achievement, the drive to succeed and excel in relation to a set of standards, the need for power, the need to make others behave in a way they would not have behaved otherwise, and the need for affiliation, the desire for friendly and close interpersonal relationship.
So now we will discuss about the perception and the factors that affect the managing individual behavior. So we will look at the definition of the perception. Perception is how we give meaning to our environment and by organizing and interpreting sensory impressions. And the fundamental attribution error is the tendency to underestimate the influence of external factors and overestimate the influence of internal factors. The self-serving bias is the tendency to attribute our own successes to internal factors and to put the blame on personal failure for external factors. So three shortcuts that used in judging others are assumed similarity, stereotyping, and the halo effect.
The case in chapter 16. And so this case is about keeping employees motivated. And the first question is, what would it be like to work at Patagonia? The organization's culture is treated as one of the best companies to work with. Employees are highly motivated by the culture and ethics prevalent. The best that the company does is to motivate the employees by explaining them the importance of their work by actually putting them into it. For example, as the company deals in outdoor clothing meant for the customers who are interested in the sports, it ensures that the concerned employees have same tastes as well as updates about the products. This makes employees realize the importance of their work by realizing the same moment on their own. This shows that this company is doing extremely well for the employees and the working environment is very much employee friendly. So move to the next question. Using what I've learned from studying the various motivation theories, what does Patagonia's situation tell me about employee motivation? From what I've learned about motivation is that Patagonia motivation is influenced by workplace issues, being able to handle crises in the tough economy. In addition, I think that many employees would be very motivated from the external factors of being able to have the motivation to be able to have the responsibility and to be able to say what goes on in a company. Therefore, it can make many employees at various companies feel as if they were important given the challenge to make decisions. And the third question, what do you might what do I think might be Patagonia's biggest challenge? Um, I think that when Patagonia gives the employees a responsibility, it's not a job but a duty. They must be able to help and preserve the environment. That means that employees has a social responsibility to control products that the company produce and has the obligation to make sure that the products are safe and tested. The company gives an employee the moral obligation to be able to handle the challenge of product testing, in which would help employees stay motivated. Employees for the company have a higher purpose and are coached to be define expectation, communicate the deadlines, and then let the employees figure out the best way to meet the challenge. And that's the end of my presentation.
Hi everyone, I'm Như again, and this is chapter 17. And in the learning objective number 1, we were talking about leader and leadership. So, who are leaders and what is leadership? So, let's begin by clarifying who leaders are and what leadership is. So, our definition of a leader is someone who can influence others and who has managerial authority. And leadership is a process of leading a group and influencing that group to achieve its goals. So, it's what leaders do. So, are all managers leaders? Well, because leading is one of four management functions, so yes, ideally all managers should be leaders. So thus, we are going to study leaders and leadership from a managerial perspective.
Now let's move to compare and contrast early theories of leadership. Leadership research in 1920s and 1930s focused on isolating leader traits, that is, characteristic, that would differentiate leaders from non-leaders. Some of the traits studied include physical stature, appearance, social class, emotional stability, fluency of speech, and sociability. Despite the best efforts of researchers, it proved impossible to identify a set of traits that would always differentiate a leader, the person, from a non-leader. Researchers hope that the behavioral theories approach would provide more definitive answers about the nature of leadership than did the trait theories. The University of Iowa studies explored three leadership styles to find which was the most effective. The Ohio State studies identified two dimensions of leader behavior: initiating structure, the role of the leader in defining his or her role, and the roles of group members. Consideration: the leader's mutual trust and respect for group members' ideas and feelings. University of Michigan studies
Two dimensions of leader behavior: employee-oriented, emphasizing personal relationship; production-oriented, emphasizing task accomplishment. Research findings: leaders who are employee-oriented are strongly associated with high group productivity and high job satisfaction. The managerial grid: a two-dimensional grid for appraising leadership styles, places managerial styles in five categories: impoverished management, desk management, middle of the road management, country club management, and the class A team management.
So now we will discuss some current issues in motivation. The managers in the company, they have to face with four motivation issues. The first one is motivating in tough economic circumstances. The second one is managing cross-cultural challenges. And the third one is motivating unique groups of workers. And the fourth one is designing appropriate reward programs for the workers. So in the tough economic circumstances, we see that there's a lot of problem issues. So people try to motivate their workers to work better so that the economy would become better. Uh, but it's hard for them to do so because if they don't increase the encourage the employee with their incentives, with enough incentives, then the worker would not be willing to work for them in the tough economy. The second one is the cross-cultural challenges, because in the company there would be a lot of people coming from different cultural backgrounds, coming from different countries. So they have to help other culture make an environment that every culture have freedom to express and to work well. The fourth one is the unique groups of workers. Like in the working place, there will be different groups with different fields. So is a challenge for the manager to connect all of different groups with each other. For example, the finance groups and the marketing groups. The fourth one is the reward programs. So it would be suitable for they have to increase the suitable rewards for suitable workers so that it would encourage that worker to work well.
Hi Sky, I'm Nhi. Today I will talk about the case of chapter 17. The first question is, what do you think about Berkeley's statement that leaders and managers differ? Do you agree? Why and why not? I feel that Berkeley's statement that leaders and managers differ is accurate. I agree that managers and leaders differ. A manager's role is to essentially keep things in order in regard to work, environment, and staff obedience, whereas a leader role mostly revolve around people with their main job function being to motivate, inspire, and develop their staff. Managers make sure that policy and procedure are being followed. Leaders ensure that people are inspired, motivated, and developed to their full potentials. Managers are more of the dictators, where leaders are more of innovators. I think that both leaders and managers need to work in unison in order to be effective. The second question, what leadership models, theory, issues do you see in this case? About the leadership models, from this case, it appears that 3M requires the right leaders to be in the right situation in order to create the right effect. Buckley states that leaders, he feels, shouldn't be promoted weekly. They need to put in the time to gain the experience and overcome failure. An important part of leadership is being matched with the wrong situation. It follows the leader to see their flaw and develop the necessary skills to overcome the situation should they encounter it in the future. About the leadership theory, in this case, it is obvious that the leadership developed by 3M is one that entails people skills. Leaders at 3M aspire to receive intensive training as well as having experiment. The six leadership attributes revolve around being a good leader in general, motivate others, and meeting company goals, and about leadership issues. In this case, as well as any leadership case, I think staff readiness is one potential issue in leader path to success. Many employees see leadership as a threat and are often uncomfortable. It takes time for a leader to build relationships with the team and earn their trust. Once that trust is earned and a bond has been formed, the leader can then spend time developing their team. The third question, take it up the six leadership attributes that the company feels is important. Explain what you think about one involved. Then discuss how those attributes might to develop and measure. Thirdly, Chap and course. Leaders are in charge of their own destiny. They must develop their own purpose, figure out the steps necessary to complete their personal goals as well as the company mission, and hold themselves accountable. A good leader will face failure and they need to develop the skill needed to overcome the failure and create success out of them. They could be measured by their achievement. For example, they can keep a lot of goals that have been met or review given by others. The second thing, energize and inspire others. One of the main goals of the leaders is to energize and inspire others. Leaders often see potential in team members that they don't see in themselves. Leaders can inspire others by pointing out what makes them a good team member, working with them to better themselves both personally and professionally. The third one, demonstrate ethics, integrity, and compliance. This attribute is rather self-explanatory. All leaders should act with integrity, keeping in mind proper ethics. All leaders should be in compliance with all company policies. This is difficult to measure, as all leaders should know whether or not they are acting ethically with integrity while remaining compliant. The fourth one, deliver results. All leaders of 3M must deliver results. The result could be in regard to inspiring, motivating team member or reaching company goals. The fifth one, raise the bar. Leader of any company or organization should have a mindset that enables them to raise the bar. And the last one, innovate resourcefully. We see this same spirit in maintaining of large facilities, factories, buildings, even ships. Those who survive them may not always follow a manual. They diagnose problem and figure out what tools and material there are at hand to fit them. Call it resources innovation. And the last question, what did this case teach you about leadership? This case told me that leadership is more than just a role in a company. Leaders have certain traits and attributes that make them successful and good at what they do. Leadership isn't about a title, it isn't about power, it is about commitment. Leadership are not there to tell employees what to do. They differ greatly from traditional material roles. They are there to empower, teach, motivate, and inspire others. They are well trained and skilled at what they do. In 3M especially, leaders are not just anyone. They are a carefully selected group of people. Leaders have extensive experience and have faced the same failure as the average employee. The failure what makes them humble. Thank you for your listening.
Now let's move to compare and contrast early theories of leadership. Leadership research in 1920s and 1930s focused on isolating leader traits, that is, characteristic, that would differentiate leaders from non-leaders. Some of the traits studied include physical stature, appearance, social class, emotional stability, fluency of speech, and sociability. Despite the best efforts of researchers, it proved impossible to identify a set of traits that would always differentiate a leader, the person, from a non-leader. Researchers hope that the behavioral theories approach would provide more definitive answers about the nature of leadership than did the trait theories. The University of Iowa studies explored 3 leadership styles to find which was the most effective. The Ohio State studies identified 2 dimensions of leader behavior: initiating structure, the role of the leader in defining his or her role, and the roles of group members. Consideration, the leader's mutual trust and respect for group members' ideas and feelings. University of Michigan studies 2 dimensions of leader behavior: employee-oriented, emphasizing personal relationship; production-oriented, emphasizing task accomplishment. Research findings: leaders who are employee-oriented are strongly associated with high group productivity and high job satisfaction. The managerial grid, a 2 dimensional grid for appraising leadership styles, places managerial styles in 5 categories: impoverished management, task management, middle of the road management, country club management, and the class A team management.